Hartwood Pedals are at it again. Yes, the Gear for Music house brand has brought out 3 new effects pedals in its affordable range of stomp boxes. Previously this year we saw a couple of drives, we saw a fuzz pedal and a chorus, and now we've got the Everglade Analog Delay, the Chicago Flanger and the Baltimore Boost. So we've almost got a full pedal board of Hartwood pedals going on now. All we're missing is a tuner and a reverb pedal really, so Hartwood, you know what to do next. But these are all going to be super affordable, about $35 or 30-ish euros, something there or thereabouts. So great choices for a first pedal, or if you're someone who's just dipping their toe into something like flange, boost or delay in this case, they could be the ideal option for you. But how good are they? How good do they sound? Well, we're about to find that out in this video. Now I'll be playing all of the pedals into my Hughes & Kettner Ampman Classic pedal board amplifier. I'll be running the delay and the flanger in the effects loop of the amp, and I'll be using the Baltimore Boost in the front end. I'll also be using the Beartooth pedal, which was one of my very favorites from the previous foursome of Hartwood pedals. This is a Rat style overdrive, distortion and fuzz pedal, and it is absolutely fantastic, and I'll be using that to beef up the tones at certain points in the playing samples. Now in terms of a guitar today, I'm going to be using my Ibanez 2025 AZ Standard HSS model, which has every sound under the sun with its coil tap on the bridge humbucker and its neck and middle single coil pickups. So we're going to start with the Everglade Delay then, and this is a very simple affair as you would expect for this price point and as keeping with the rest of the Hartwood pedals range. Now it's a true analog delay, and I did verify that with Hartwood and the team at Gear for Music. It's not a digital delay emulating an analog delay. This is a true Bucket Brigade style delay with a BBD chip in it. You've got 3 controls here. You've got a level, feedback and time for how loud your delay repeats are going to be, for how many of them you want, and for the gap in time that you want between those repeats. Now this is a very affordable pedal, so there's no tap tempo or anything like that. It's going to be mono only operation as well, so not for you if you only want to run stereo pedals, and you power it via a standard 9-volt power supply. So that's the Everglade Delay then, $35 of analog delay goodness, and it sounds a little bit like this. So that was the Everglade Analog Delay. I hope you enjoyed the tones. Let me know your thoughts as ever in the comments. But for me, I think this is a great meat and potatoes style of delay pedal. Now, if you're someone who wants to use delay for a stylistic approach, if you want modulations and huge otherworldly soundscapes, you're going to need to look elsewhere. But for $35 or 30-ish euros, this is an ideal option to cover all of those classic analog delay needs. And I would actually kind of compare this to something like the Boss DM2, the Total Classic, because this offers that really simple 3-knob operation up to, I think, about 300 milliseconds of delay. So it's great for thickening up tones and making your sound a bit more three-dimensional. It's perfect for not getting in the way of what you're playing, whether you're playing clean or whether you're playing dirtier stuff as well and you want to fatten up your leads with a bit of echo. It's perfect for that. It's great for giving you something like a slapback, and you can use it for kind of classic genres like garage rock or something like that to really give you some nice kind of throbbing, pulsing repeats in the delay, but it's never going to be something which takes over your sound, and I see that in a very positive sort of a way. This is a pedal that's not going to go into crazy self-oscillation or anything like that. Even if you have the feedback knob maxed out, it's going to disappear at some point, and you do have to have the knobs up quite far on this just to hear it when you're playing, because it is there to support what you're doing and not overbear it in any way. What you could possibly do is pair this with another crazy sort of delay, an octave delay or some kind of modulated delay or a reverse delay or something like that, and have both running together. But for a great first delay, I would have no problems in heartily recommending this one. The only thing I'm missing personally would be a tap tempo button, but that's something you can never expect at this sort of a price point. I think this is a great option, and if you're someone who wants to get a first affordable analog delay, you could do far worse than trying the Everglade. So that's the Everglade Delay then, and next we're going to look at the Chicago Flanger. And I have to admit, flange is not an effect that I've ever used that much as a guitar player in my musical career to date. I did have an Electro Harmonix Electric Mistress when I was younger, and I used it to get that kind of jet plane taking off sort of a whooshing sound that you could hear in certain Foo Fighters songs and that kind of thing, but I've never really used flange beyond that. But they can be much more versatile pedals than what I was using it for, and I'm going to try and get some different tones and different soundscapes out of the Chicago in the playing part coming up in a second. So you've got a mini switch and 3 controls on this pedal. The mini switch takes you between freeze and normal modes. Now what that switch is going to do is normal mode is going to be your bog standard flanger, and the freeze mode is going to lock the sweep of the flanger in place, which gives a classic static droning flange sound that apparently can add a unique layer between what you're playing and give you some really interesting musical effects. So looking forward to hear how that one sounds. And the 3 knobs here for color, for range and for rate, well, what they're going to do is, well, the color control adjusts the resonance, adding bite or softening the sweep. The rate determines how fast the modulation moves, from slow wave-like movements to fast pulsing flutters, and the range sets the intensity of the effect, letting you, or me in this case, decide how deep the sweep of the flanging effect goes. And you can probably tell that I did read a lot of that off the Hartwood Gear for Music website, but there you go, all the information's on the website if you'd like to read more detail about this pedal. So 4 interesting controls on this one. Let's hear how the Chicago Flanger sounds. So that was the Chicago Flanger, and I actually really enjoyed that. I wasn't expecting to get so many different sounds out of this thing, but you got that classic jet plane taking off sort of a whooshing sound, along with some much more subtle chorusy and phasey effects, and some deep, throaty sort of wobble sounds, almost like a rotary speaker or a Leslie or something like that. So surprising amounts of flexibility in this pedal for your all-round sort of modulation needs, if that's what you'd want. I really liked having the controls all down at about 9 or 10 o'clock, just to give an extra kind of modulation to my clean tones. And then kicking in a bit of drive on top of that gives you lovely glam rock, sort of slightly whooshy Eddie Van Halen sorts of tones. So the Chicago Flanger is great for all of that. And when I turned up the rate almost all the way, I got some lovely wobbly Leslie sort of sounds, which are perfect for alternative rock bands like Nada Surf, who I love so much. This kind of tone is very much available in the Chicago Flanger, even though I know that Matthew Kors from Nada Surf used the Hughes and Kettner Rotosphere to get those kinds of tones. You can emulate that very well with the Chicago Flanger. Now, when it came to the normal and the freeze switch, I was on normal 99% of the time. I couldn't manage to get anything really musical out of the freeze setting. It's there if you want it. It's nice for sort of drony sort of sounds. I'm hopeful that someone watching this will be able to get better tones out of that than I could manage. But nevertheless, it's a nice thing to have. And again, for $35, this is going to be a great addition to your pedal board. It's going to be a great entry into the world of flange, and it's just going to be another option if you want that kind of thing. So that's the Chicago Flanger. And the third pedal in today's test is the Baltimore Boost. Now, I think most of you would be using a boost pedal to kind of add some spice to a boring clean tone from your amp, hitting the front end of it with this pedal with a bit of boost to spice things up, or to add some extra grit to an already overdriven tone. Now, you've got a boost knob right here in the middle of the Baltimore Boost, but we've got two other knobs too, one for low and one for high. And this is effectively a two-band EQ that's going to allow us to cut or add frequencies into our tone. So that could make this a very versatile option indeed. Otherwise, it's the same as the others, $35 or about 30 plus euros, something like that. Power it via a standard 9-volt power supply. Very simple to operate, mono only. Let's hear the Baltimore Boost in action. So that was the Baltimore Boost. Hope you enjoyed the tones. This is another pedal where I think it's kind of a secret weapon and a bit of a Swiss Army knife, and it can help you out in so many musical situations. Now with everything at 12 o'clock, it wasn't really colouring the frequency or the character of our amp, it was just giving us a bit more of what we already had. So it did make my clean channel break up a little bit, it made it really nice and musical sounding, edge of breakup sort of tones, and with the drive channel of the amp engaged or using the drive from the Beartooth pedal and running the Baltimore into the Beartooth, we had some much tighter, much more gainy, high gain tones on offer. Now I think you can get quite a bit of boost out of this pedal. The more you turn it up, it is giving you a clean boost and it does make you a lot louder, but it starts to break up even the cleanest of amps as you edge up to about 3 or 4 o'clock on the boost dial. But I really think the heroes of this pedal are the two EQ controls, the low and the high. Now the low, for example, lets you cut out unwanted low end. If you've got a flubby humbucker, for example, you can really tighten it up by using this pedal. Or if you've got a dark sounding signal, like I did have with the Beartooth on it sometimes, I could add to the highs and get a bit more sparkle out of my tone. And on its own, the Hughes & Kettner Ampman Classic is a great clean sound, but it's not exciting for something like country tones. It doesn't have that spank and that sparkle and that bite. Adding in some extra high frequencies with the Baltimore Boost and actually adding a bit of low end as well, and a bit of boost of course, and I got some beautiful country tones, perfect for Nashville, telly, twang and that kind of thing. So a boost pedal is something that you can really use in many musical situations. What you could also do, of course, is put one of these at the end of your pedal board after everything else, just to boost a slightly flagging signal. So many different options with this pedal, and in fact with all three of these new Hartwood pedals you've got many different new musical avenues that you can open up. So now there's 7 different Hartwood pedals as of time of filming. We've got a couple of different drive pedals, we've got a boost pedal, we've got a fuzz pedal, we've got a chorus, we've got a flanger, and we've got a delay as well. So that's almost a full pedal board of Hartwood goodness that you could probably get for about €200 or something like that. And of course you could buy a digital modeler that's probably got all those effects and more for way less money, but sometimes real pedals are a great thing to have, and something like the Everglade Analog Delay are just something you're not going to be able to achieve in a modeler, at least if you want a true analog response. I'm a big fan of all 3 of these pedals and I think that they could all do a job for you. Now of course there are going to be other options if you're looking for similar kind of effects at similar sorts of price points. If you're looking for a great affordable analog delay, TC Electronic have a couple of options. They have the very simple Echo Brain pedal, or for a bit more money with added features like modulation, you could get something like the Bucket Brigade pedal, which is a great delay pedal that has up to 600 milliseconds of delay as well, so that's a great option too. Or you could go for the classic and pick up a Boss DM2. You can only get the Wazza edition new, but there are older ones that always come up on used marketplaces. Now if you're looking for a cheap flanger, you could look for something like the Moore E-Lady. That's going to be a great option, has the freeze option as well. There's a very cheap €20 Harley Benton flanger pedal that offers you that as well, and then you could then pay a bit more money to get the classic, the EHX Electric Mistress pedal. And if you're looking for an affordable boost, well, there's going to be many options out there as well. You could always go for something like the TC Electronic Spark Boost, which is a great option, or what you could also do is turn your amp up a little bit, and that's going to work like a boost as well. But there you go. These are 3 great pedals at 3 great price points. $35 for each one is well worth a punt in my book. It's almost pocket money prices in this day and age. And like I said, of course, there are digital versions of these pedals that are much cheaper and give you way more, but you don't always want that. I'm someone who loves his analog pedals. I love my pedal board, and a couple of these pedals are going to go on my affordable pedal board. So there you go then. I hope you enjoyed this run through of the Everglade Delay, the Chicago Flanger, and the Baltimore Boost. And if you'd like to watch my video with the other 4 Hartwood effects pedals, well, you can watch that one. It's linked in the description as well. If you're still around, it would really make my day if you wanted to give the video a like, or maybe even sub to my channel, because that really does help. But that's been it for today. I've been Rich, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.